Hello everybody, this is Sir Tomiyuki. Well, I shouldn't be calling myself Sir, but as you'll see later, there are a lot of knights call themselves Sir or Sire or whatever. So I guess, Anyway, I'm Tomiyuki, I'm from the At Knight blog, and again, I guess this is At Knight channel, and today we'll be doing a special lore video on Sanctus Reach, the Red Waaagh. Waaagh, Waaagh. I have no idea how to pronounce that. The Red Waaagh. Sorry, I'm not an Ox player, but I like Ox. Don't get me wrong. Anyway, as usual, if you prefer to read instead of listen to me, um, speak out my script or something, you can go to my blog. The link is right there in the video. You can see that. For some reason, I can't post it in the descriptions because YouTube doesn't allow me to. Don't ask me why. You should ask YouTube. Anyway, yeah, if you prefer reading it on my blog, there you go. Otherwise, let's get on with the show. So yeah, Sanctus reached the Red Rock. It's kind of funny. There are plenty of Warhammer 40,000 lore videos on YouTube, especially those by Arbiter Ian, Luitin09, Oculus Imperial, and more. I'm pretty sure there are a lot more you guys can think of that comes to mind. But I actually haven't seen a single one on Sanctus reached the Red. Wow! Yes, there are quite a few videos on the video game available on Steam. I ought to know because I bought Sons of Cadia a few years ago and played it because I wasn't interested in the Space Wolves one because I'm not a Space Wolves fan. I don't play Space Marines. I am an Imperial Guard fan, as you guys probably know if you've been following my blog for a while. So when I saw Sons of Cadia, I was like, yeah, I'm getting this game. So I got it. I played it. I didn't make it past the first few missions because apparently turn-based strategy games is not really my cup of tea. Anyway, yeah, I tried to search on YouTube for Sanctus Reach Red Warp videos, and for some reason they are mainly recorded gameplay or walkthroughs or even mods, but none of them are lore videos that detail the actual narrative campaign itself. So I thought for today's article we'll do an actual lore summary or sorry, today's video I mean, because this is my blog. So yeah, as I said, I'm primarily a blogger, so I keep thinking I'm writing an article instead of doing a video. Anyway, we'll do an actual law summary on Sanctus Reach the Rate Wow on this video. Um, yeah, so to first provide context for Sanctus Reach the Rate Wow, I should point out that this is a campaign video that was released in July 2014, shortly after the release of the Militarum Tempestus Codex Supplement and Imperial Knight Codexes in March 2014, and the Astra Militarum Codex in April 2014. So as you can see, this is like 3 months after the release of three codexes. So I think what it does is actually not only does it provide a new narrative campaign for a kind of a new story in the Warhammer 40 that's set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. It is also meant to give these fairly new codexes at that time, I mean in 2014, new formations to play with, which is something I will explore later in the video. Well, not this video. I have a part 2 video coming up. This is part 1 as you can see from the title because it's too long. Yeah, the book itself is like what 160 pages worth of lore, so I did like 100 pages and I thought, yeah, you know what, that's a bit too long for both the blog article and for the video, I think. So for now, let's focus on the actual story. It's actually about the titular, I guess, titular Red War when Orc Armada invades the Night Wolf Alaric Prime, the last bastion of resistance in the system overrun by the Greenskins. So yeah, Alaric Prime is defended by its knight houses and the Astra Militarum allies, comprising of several Cadian regiments and a Militarum Tempestus contingent. As you can see from the codexes, it really literally is about these three armies, as well as the Orcs, but we don't do Orcs in this channel, so yeah. The world is led by an Orc warlord, Grug Face Reaper, who killed his original war boss, Krog the Tyrant, to seize power and become, well, the war boss. So the Red War is also known as War Grog for now, but you'll see later why they don't just call it War Grog. At the slaughter of Black Gulch, Grog tore open a malfunctioning drop pod and slaughtered all 10 Space Marines inside. So yeah, that's one of the impressive feats that he achieved as a war boss. Anyway, he leads an armada to invade the Sanctus Reach system. He even has a flagship in the form of the Wrath of God, which he painted red so that it could go faster because orcs. You can see the Wrath of God there, pretty cool. First, the York struck Obsteria, the homeworld of the Obsidian Glaive Space Marine chapter, and though the majority of the chapter succeeded in slaying hundreds of thousands of orcs, they were eventually overwhelmed and wiped out by the millions of greenskins. So an actual Space Marine chapter actually got wiped out from the annals of the Imperium. Kind of unfortunate. Next was the Hive World of Gu Jensen. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. And despite the planetary governor Gu Jensen, he's literally named after the Hive World. I guess it's a tradition there. Redeploying the planetary defense force to fortify his capital, Hive Jensen, they were still destroyed by the Orcs in 3 days. The people of the rogue trading post Malagai Mocha, that sounds like quite a name, managed to escape in time before the Orc struck. So yay, I guess. Apparently, they received warning ahead of time from their rogue traders about the impending Waaagh, and they managed to, you know, flee the system. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for an Aguilar named Squire's Rest, which apparently has been plagued by Orc raiders over the last few years, and now they're believed to be the outriders for Waaagh. Needless to say, they probably fell in short order. Thus, the Night World of Alaric Prime is the only one left. I might be mistaken, but I believe there are actually a few Sanctus Reach novels that were written around this time as well, and one of them was actually about Squire's Rest falling to the Greenskins. I could be mistaken. But yeah, anyway, Alaric Prime, the Night World. The first warning that Alaric Prime had of the Greenskin menace was when the twin Astrophiles of House Castron suffered psychic trauma and rushed their master Lord Gollemort. Gollemort? I hope it's not a play on Voldemort, the Harry Potter villain. But yeah, to report an incoming Xenos invasion, an entire war headed in their direction. Gollemort then sent a message to all the other knightly houses, but all except one ignored his warning. Alaric Prime, just like any night world, is bound to tradition and protocol, and it's so exaggerated here that there's a bunch of nonsensical laws that ended up incarcerating or exiling two-thirds of the planet's populace. Just for yawning during daylight hours, or talking when the noble is speaking earshot, or even pointing at the stars in the night sky. I mean, that's the grim, dark, satirical nature of the Warhammer 40,000 universe for you. It's meant to be over the top and kind of insane sometimes. Most of Alaric Prime's surface is covered in a viscous sulfuric solution thicker than seawater, while the main continent of Alaric Prime, known as Sacred Isle, is surrounded by islands, each a domain of one of its knightly houses. The islands that form the rest of the habitable lands are mostly penitentiaries, and obviously most of them in prison they are actually are actually not guilty of malicious misconduct. Unfortunately, this means that the truly criminal thrive in these lawless proto-societies that, worse, the houses of Alaric Prime had long stood divided, with many of the noble lineages having long-standing feuds that frequently erupted in civil wars. This meant that Guillermo Castron's message was ignored by all of his rivals except Lord Neru of House Delagio. Degalio? I think Degalio sounds better, so yeah, let's stick to Degalio. Who was aware of how dangerous the Orcs are. Having fought against pirates raiding Squire's Rest and learning of the Obsidian Glaive's demise. In fact, his own astropath had also warned him 2 hours before Gollemort's message reached him. Despite protests from his own house, Nero de Galileo, with the support of his Knight Regal Ursor Firesword and his Aegis, Sire Jedrick of the Black Shield. Man, these knights really have fancy names, don't they? I really wonder where they get these names from. Nehru wrote his knight, the White Warden, to House Castron, and Guillemot accompanied him and his knights to the supposedly forbidden Sacred Mountain to send a distress call. Of course, this meant the knightly houses of Velamestrin, Bramica, Terrin, no, not the one from Votoris, it's another house Terrin, and Kamata censured houses Castron and Gallo for breaching Sacred Mountain, but just before civil war could erupt, Castellanstein, Acadian commander, sent a message to Alaric Prime. Originally tasked with reinforcing Gul Jensen, the Acadians had arrived too late to fulfill their primary mission, but they had outrun the cumbersome ships of the Red Waaagh and were able to bolster the defense of Alaric Prime. Accompanying them was a fleet of black armored warships from the nearby Squalor Progenium planet Edificus, bringing a contingent of Tempestus Militarum Science. Or is it Militarum Tempestus Science? Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, as you would expect, the Acadians landed and began fortifying Alaric Prime for war. And yeah, that I think that's the picture of the sacred mountain. Uh, or maybe it's just the 40th. Never mind. Anyway, House Dagilio is the most powerful knightly house in Alaric Prime, and apparently they have their own navy. Cool. I guess they be making waves on their own night war. However, also Dagilio is a fusion-powered superstructure that dwarfs even the mightiest battleship in Lord Neru's fleet. It's a mobile conglomeration of prison hulks that have transformed into a conjoined fleet. It also houses not only dozens of knights but also its own civilian population. Oh, that's actually pretty cool now that you think about it. Imagine a super structure fleet based ship thingy that has its own civilian population inside. Yeah, they even have its own city inside with its own like buildings, merchant trading posts, and how do I put it? A social ecosystem. You know what I mean. It's like literally a city inside the floating island. If you guys watched the what was it? Sosei no Gargantia. It's a I think it's a science fiction anime, mecha anime by the way. About the I think when Earth is covered by sea after the polar caps melted or something, and then the humans they had to find a way to live on this now I guess sea planet. Yep. What's the word? Tesselia? Tesselia now. Well, anyway, Earth became a sea planet basically. So they have all these fleets of ships, sometimes combining into one super ship. So that's pretty cool. I would recommend you guys check out that. It's also written by Urobuchi Gen. So if you guys are anime fans, you will recognize his name. But we are not an anime fan. We are not doing an anime video. So let's get down to the Cadians. Castellan Jackrenstein is the overall commander of Alaric Prime's defenses, marshalling not only his Cadian regiments but also the Militarum Tempestus contingent, and he basically went about setting up Hydra squadrons and Icarus batteries. Icarus batteries. And I mean, the Islander houses also enlisted thousands of minor offenders from the prisons and organized them into regiments known as House Militia. Jackenstein is a stoic and canny commander with a hard-won reputation as he rose to the ranks of Castellan, and among his achievements was the defense of Hive Swat. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Brutally putting down the Source Chan, not Fourth Chan, rebellion, and even the Battle of Crimson Deeps against superior rebel forces who surrounded his company. And he led his company to break out the encirclement at a cost of 90% casualties. I'm not sure why he has never shown up in any Black Library novel or campaign supplements. He's a really cool character. My in-head canon fanfiction has him being rerouted to the Draconis system, which contains Rusame the Night World, my house Yato, after the space was intervened with the whole Inquisition thing, but we can talk more about that later. This is not the video for that. Anyway, the York fleet finally arrived to invade Alaric Prime, dropping dropships on the Night World. The Acadians fired the Icarus las cannons and Hydra flag cannons, destroying 5% of the Orc rush ships, but they were mostly protected by custom force fields because, Orcs. Castellanstein also dispatched Thunderbolt squadrons against the enemy ships, but they were outnumbered by Orc Dakar jets and sent crashing. The surviving Orc dropships slammed down on the Alaric Prime surface, and Orcs began pouring out of the craft. One of them is like the Wrath of Gog itself. So it's like this giant battleship zooming down from orbit and slamming into the surface of Alaric Prime. It's kind of funny. It's like, why would you crash your battleship just to unload your Orcs? I guess they didn't plan on getting off the planet, or crazy Octec will find a way to get it to lift off again. Anyway, the 1,000-mile ring of fortifications around Sacred Mountain began firing in all directions into the Orc hordes, massacring them. But there were so many Orcs that they still came on using each other as stepping stones and flinging themselves at helpless Scotsmen. Fortunately, the knights strike back. 2,000 knights with the warriors of houses Wellemestrian and Bramica in the lead just behind Lord Galumot Castron himself charged into the fray and slaughtered the Yorks. House Tarrians stayed back to fire with long-range battle cannons, while Sire Din, because I think House Brahmika is a South Asian or Indian inspired night house, so they have like kind of South Asian sounding names. So Sire Din Sing Ding of House Brahmika reveled in close combat. Their iron shields and thick armor protected them from the orcs' firepower. The knights succeeded in annihilating the orcs in a broad column as they plunged towards the heart of the orc. Hot. Yeah, not the heart of the orc. I almost said hot as orc. Sorry. But the greenskins flowed around their forward bleeds before swarming behind them to cut the knights off from the Cadians. Despite Stein's demands that they pull back, the knights ignored him and went straight for the largest rush ship, which is the Wrath of God, by the way. That proved to be their downfall. The first knight casualty was Rolandus Valemestrin, piloting his knight suit, Gauntlet. While Rolandus was busily slaughtering orcs, Gauntlet fell to a thrumming chain arm of a massive orc war effigy. I assume it's a Stomper. A full quarter of the Wrath ship's flank fell open, with the hinge slap crushing Sire Walker's knight suit like a ration's tin. Ouch! The resulting detonation, along with the crashing of the Wrath ship's flank, sent a cloud of dust across the battlefield, obscuring the Cadians' vision and causing them to miss. So the orcs ran over their fortifications and routed the guardsmen despite them receiving the fixed bayonets order. So I guess just because you have orders that improve your give you an extra attack or something doesn't mean, or give you a better weapon skill or something doesn't mean you can guardsmen can still fight on par with orcs. I mean, they have toughness 5 and we have strength 3, so yeah, we're not gonna wound them. Uh, Actually, it doesn't really matter, right? Whether they are toughness 4 or 5, because we still wound our 5s. Whether it's back in this is back in 6th edition where they're still toughness 4. Anyway, when the cloud cleared, a Stomper lumbered out and obliterated Sire Faragai's knight. Sir Luminous Knight launched a counterattack, but even his strength D Reaper Chainblade only took a couple of hull points off the Stomper. Unluckily, he didn't roll a 6 for the 6 plus D6 wounds hull points without any saves allowed. So, because of his bad roll, he ended up being crushed. His armor was crushed by the Stomper's chainsaw. Uh, because apparently the chainsaw, I think the Stomper has enough attacks to deal 6 hull points worth of damage to a knight. For some reason, they decided to include this random tidbit about Dairos of House Kamata in the middle of the battle. I don't know why. But anyway, Dairos of House Kamata is the second son of Hiram Kamata, who became a Freeblade when he heard whispers from his deceased older brother from the Throne Mechanicum during the ritual of becoming, and thus he learned of his father's treachery that led to the murder of his brother. So he's now a Freeblade known as the Blade of Redemption. And he has returned from the far reaches of Alaric Prime to fight the Orcs alongside Houses Castran and Dilagallo. Anyway, speaking of Castran, no, actually the Gallo is the white warden, so I'm not very sure why they showed him here. Anyway, unfortunately, House Castran fell shortly after this. The knights were unable to damage the rampaging Stomper, which stomped on Sire Felchin's Castran's knight next. Yes, I did that on purpose. Finally, Galamot Castran was able to hurt the Stomper with his thermal cannon, because, Melta. But Grug leaped out and landed on his knight's helm. Galamot was about to shock the orc with his iron shield, but despite requesting that his fellow nobles hold fire, Silvos Welmestrin ignored his order and fired at him, causing his iron shield to dissipate. Grog then proceeded to rip open the carapace hatch and pluck Galamot from his throne and saw him into two. Ooh, that's quite a grisly way to die. His son Moloris attempted revenge, but his knight suit was hammered aside by the damaged Stomper, allowing Grog to leap onto Moloris' knight suit and stomp him to death. No, he literally stomped Moloris to death by putting his foot through the screen, the knight screen, and stomping right into Molory's pudgy chest. They literally wrote that in. It's quite gruesome. Reeling at the loss of their leaders, the surviving knights Castran retreated to the Cadian defense line, but they now found themselves surrounded by the Orcs. Sire Day of House Bramica also fell, as did Oberstrus? I don't know how to pronounce this weird name, of House Terran, and eventually only 3 knights out of the original 2000 were left. Fortunately for the trio, the Steelhorse arrived in time to pull them out. Cadian tanks showing up to blast apart encircling Orc vehicles and luring the Orc horde towards them. Those who charged them were incinerated by a trio of Hellhound flame tanks. This brought the remaining Cadian platoons and those few knights a reprieve, and they were ordered to head south and rendezvous by the banks of the boiling river. Though the Orc vanguard had been blunted, every single knight of House Castran, including Lord Galamot, had perished. Ugh. Yeah, as a knight guy, I am so hurt by this. Oh, Here's a bit of tidbit on the steel hose. A tank regiment of the Canadian 1652nd, supporting the 1651st Infantry or adding their firepower to the artillery barrages of the 1653rd. They're led by tank commander Silas Ovick, which is this handsome guy over here. So yeah, take a good look at him because the steel hose will be showing up quite often throughout the campaign. The Acadians still had to face millions of orcs, and while Castellanstein had originally planned to rebuff the orc attack from a defended position, neutralize one rush ship's horde, then retreat Boiling River and use its great bridges as killing fields to deal with the next rush ship swarm, maximizing the advantage of narrow points. Yeah, things just don't go as planned. Unfortunately, you know the old adage, right? No plan ever survives contact with the enemy. And the Orcs had mustered in the south in great numbers. Though Stein was dismayed by the sheer numbers of the foe and realized if things didn't change, Alaroy Prime would fall within a week, he still had a plan to use the Boiling River. From his command tank, he had the battle tanks and artillery of the 1652nd and 1653rd take up position on the banks. The Orcs charged only to be massacred by the Acadians' 1653rd's artillery fire. Even so, the survivors continued to run forward instead of retreat, and more of them fell to coordinated less fire. At Bridge Zeta Sec, though, the Orcs were protected by custom force fields and were less vulnerable to the artillery fire. When the Orcs finally reached the bridges, Chimera armored transports were dispatched to both the Zeta Sec and Zeta Third bridges, their Augean passengers disembarking to hold the Orcs at bay with their slap shields and armor. The human counterattack kicked the suicide bomber squeaks into the river below while holding steady to meet the Orc charge. So yeah. While the blue-green line held the bridges, the Orc vanguard plunged into the river, eagerly to swim across, and despite the toxic sulfurous winds, the greenskins survived the boiling environment. A small portion of the Orcs succumbed to it, but the rest were slowed enough for the Cadians to exterminate them by shooting them from above, with less fire. Grog then showed up in a massive wagon, having left his Rex Stompa behind. Apparently had been damaged enough by Galamot Castrin that he had to settle for turning it into a scrap metal fortress. Grug and a horde of orcs alighted from the wagon and at the end of the bridge and charged. Stein then reassigned his Valkyrie and Vendetta air support to intercept the Xenos commander before he could reach the Cadian line. However, the Militarum Tempestus regiments and their accompanying Taurox Prime APCs wouldn't make in time. So yeah, Grug was faster than them and he cannonballed into the Bugrians and bludgeoned them to death, taking out even Bonehead Grunt? They are really fun names. The sergeant of the Bugrin squad. Fortunately, the Augeans were reinforced with another two Bugrin squads just in time to meet Grog's elite bodyguard of Nobs. The Acadians slaughtered hundreds of orcs, but with the Bugrins embroiled in desperate melee against Grog and the heavily armored Nobs, they were unable to stem the tide and the orcs kept coming. Castellanstein, having predicted this eventuality, ordered his Cadians to withdraw platoon by platoon without slowing the rate of fire. Though several guardsmen fell, the majority retreated safely so that the heavy weapons platoons could catch the pursuing orcs in a clear killing field and annihilate them. And here's a nice map, as Arbiter Ian would say, moving diagrams. Unfortunately, I don't have the moving diagrams because I'm not Arbiter Ian. But yeah, you can kind of see what's going on here at Bridge Zeta Sec and Bridge Zeta Touch, and more when as I try to elaborate on what's going on here. So for one moment it appeared that Stein's trap had worked, and though the Bugrins had fallen to Grog's onslaught, the Acadians exterminated the Orcs at each bottleneck at the far side of the river, with the artillery companies of the 1653rd hammering them with daily barrages. Unfortunately, the Imperium can't have nice things, and the Orcs teleported into the rear and overwhelmed the artillery positions, wiping out the gunmen and destroying the basilisks. Though Tempestus Prime Whitlocks, Valkyries, and Vedentas were inbound to help, they were unable to do anything as the Orc raiders stole the basilisks and turned them on the withdrawing Cadians, killing dozens of them. That's really rough. With the distraction, the Orcs launched forward and threatened to rout the disciplined Cadian retreat. Fortunately, Lord Neru de Galio and his knights show up to the party. As you can see at the bottom, Islo de Galio had arrived and slammed into the great estuary, that's what they call it here, the shore, the beach there. And they disgorged dozens, maybe even over 100 Imperial Knights. They split up into 4 battle groups, with 2 Knight Lancers taking the west bank and bombard the thickening bottleneck of Orcs attempting to cross at Zeta Turk. The other 2 Lancers headed east, intercepting the Orcs on the southeast that were trying to cut off the Cadians' line of escape. Stein made use of the reprieve to restore order and resume the withdrawal, while Tempestus Prime, Whitlock's Militarum Tempestus regiments retreated from their Valkyries and killed every single Orc swarming over the artillery batteries. The Cadians mounted up on their Taurochs and Chimera transports before beginning their firing retreat. The Arbustor Lancers of Lord Nero de Gallios annihilated much of the Orcs in Grog's bottleneck column at Zeta Turch, whatever. They proceeded to destroy the breach and strand the Orcs of the first rush ship on one side of the great estuary to allow the Cadian allies to escape. Unfortunately, Grog and his Meganauts were charging towards them even as they undertook the time-consuming task, because the breach is pretty tough and was constructed to last like for millennia and take a lot of weight. So even with the thermal cannons, it's gonna take a long time for them to cut through the breach. In come Lord Dagalio's White Warden with a steel chair, or rather his with a chainsaw, and he just smashes the whirring chainsaw into the central stanchion of the bridge, then fires his battle cannon point blank into the crumbling bridge, causing it to break in half. Hundreds of Orcs, along with Grug and his heavily armored retinue, who were literally a few meters away from the White Warden, fell into the burning river. See ya later, boys! While the Delegatio Knights were focused on toppling the breach and protecting their Lord Nero, Orc walkers arrived from the rear and took out a few of them, including Sire Beto de Gallo. Surrounded with no line of retreat because they just collapsed the breach, Lord Nero ordered his knights to rally in the watercourse of the burning river, conjuring their iron shields to protect themselves. Lots of Gorkonauts, because they are Gorkonauts, closing on them, and the western Daglio detachment had been reduced to fewer than 10 strong. Worse, the knights were taking heavy fire from the Orcs who had been fighting the Cadians on the other side of the river. Lord Nero ordered his lance to break formation and strike downriver in a formation that maximized their overlapping iron shields as they withdrew to Islo de Gallio. Orc videos pursued the Gallio knights along with death copters. Sire Tatharine de Gallio's knight went down, but the rest managed to make it within the range of Islo de Gallio's cover fire, which decimated the Orcs' vehicles and death copters. Ha! Lord Nero de Gallio's knights then marched back into their floating fortress, safe and sound. The White Warden. Now we actually get the White Warden. Now this is actually correct, unlike the one with the Castron. Despite Grog's initial assault being blunted, the wounded and vengeful Grog bashed together an army larger than his 2 previous forces combined. Meanwhile, the Imperial troops consolidated their forces at the base of Secret Mountain and were ready for him. House de Gallio had bought the Cadians time to withdraw, as per Castellanstein's original plan, and the Cadians rallied at Secret Mountain. Unfortunately, despite inflicting the staggering casualties upon the Orcs, there remained billions of them. Yeah, that's a lot of Orcs. Unless they struck a decisive blow, the Cadians and their Imperial Knight allies would be surrounded and overrun by sheer numbers. Stein's plan was to lure the Orc caravans to an ambush on the steep slopes of the mountain, where they could bring the big guns of the Imperial Guard and Imperial Knights to bear on the sloped greenskins, as well as draw Grug himself to the front line. For if they succeeded in slaying the beast, they would decapitate the Waaagh in one go, crippling its morale and cohesion. While the Cadians manned the slopes of Secret Mountain, and whatever was inside the forbidding beak was causing interference with their walks, much to Stein's frustration, Lord Vieshtu and his house Brahmika. Again, Vieshtu I think is a reference to Vishnu. If you are familiar with South Asian mythology, the Hindu religion, Vishnu is like one of the 3 great gods of Hindu mythology or the Hindu pantheon. So yeah, like I said, South Asian influence there. Sorry, Asian studies professor mode. Anyway, Lord Vishnu and his house Brahmika along Brahman is as another reference to salvation, by the way. Yeah, I really should stop this. I'm sorry. Along with their knights of House Velemistrian, march into view. At their rear was a green and bronze knight errant only known as Garantius, who refused to respond to any attempts to communicate with him. However, Stein had no time to ponder on the arrival of the mysterious Freeblade, because the Orcs had finally chosen that moment to attack. The artillery commander of the 1653rd had ordered his regiments to open fire, and Stein also issued the order for all guns to fire at will. The Acadians dug in across the fortified slopes of the mountain, delivered overlapping fields of fire. Yeah, you guys remember that's Acadian strategy, overlapping fields of fire. Yeah, as well as heavy weapon platoon fusillade. As the Yorks approached, they were eventually met with fire from Bane Blades and Storm Hammers because, Imperial Guards, super heavy tanks. Of course we need our Bane Blades and Storm Hammers. Actually, why do we have Storm Hammers? I thought that was a stuff so like was auxiliary tank. Well, it doesn't matter. Cadians have solo auxiliary tanks, so yeah. Then the battle cannons of House Brahmika and Velimistria's Knights Paladins also, kind of decimated the Yorks. The Orcs tried their teleportation trick again, teleporting right in their lines, but this time the Cadians were prepared for them. Hundreds of less guns turning on the greenskins and felling them where they appeared. Garantius even did his badass move where he practically jumped and landed on a teleporting squad of Meganobs to crush them before vaporizing the survivors with his thermal cannon. That was so cool. Orc jets were brought down by the steel hose Hydra, while Torx transports form a line to blast buggies into shreds. So no speed freaks for you guys. Garantius also again did this very cool thing by jumping off a boulder and swatting two deathcopters out of the air, and then he brought a third down with his heavy stubber. Ha! Garantius, oh man, he's awesome. Oh, and every noble in the Alloy Prime apparently had heard tales of the ancient and legendary knight Garantius, who is also known as the Forgotten Knight. He dwells in the heart of Sacred Mountain for millennia, a Cyclopean guardian with uncanny prescience who guards the priceless secrets of its walls. I'm not gonna go through all that background information and feats of strength that he achieved over the millennia because that's I don't think we have time for that. So yeah. But if you do, just let me know, and one day I'll do a separate video of Garantius. But yeah. Anyway, Stein intended to take advantage of the Orcs' compulsion to engage immediately. The Orcs held themselves at the defended positions in ever greater numbers, but the Acadians and their knight allies repelled them. Eventually, Grog appeared in the front lines, and the Forgotten Knight, Garantius, moved to stop him. Grog's personal transport was escorted by a trio of Orc wagons, and its ablative armor was proof against the Acadians' firepower. So the Rogodon isn't the only tank with ablative armor. The nobles of houses Velimistrian and Brahmika stepped forward, their knights errant destroying the wagons, but Grug's transport barged through the racks, bent on smashing to Stein's position. This excuse me. This is where Goratius comes in with a steel chair. He barged sidelong into the York wagon, flipping it to the side, and while Grug and his fellow passengers spilled out and charged at Garantius, Stein showed up, ordered 3 Cadian special weapons squad forward to assassinate the war boss. The Castellan himself fired his plasma pistol, and along with the grenades from his special weapons teams, because I think their special weapons are grenade launchers, they managed to basically blow Grug up. Not literally. Blow him off his feet, actually. And to add insult to injury, Garantius kicked the Warboss' own wrecked battle wagon onto his broken body to finish him off. But we all know that it isn't enough to kill an Orc, especially one of Grug's stature. Still, the Orcs who witnessed his apparent demise fell into dismay, and Stein ordered his Cadians to charge. Without their leader, the Orcs were routed by the triumphant guardsmen even as they turned tail to retreat. The battle had turned into a massacre, and Stein had earned his victory. While the battle raged on the slopes of Sacred Mountain, fighting continued around the boiling river and the beach-draft ships. Distracted by the events on the mountain, the Orc bosses were taken by surprise by a lone knight of House Kamata who smashed his way into the Wrath of God, to the cheers of the guardsmen still holding position on the same side of the boiling river. The fifth blade Dairos Kamata returned, and he purged the interior of Wrath of God of Max and other Orcs while searching the wrecks of House Castron's knights for survivors. Hopefully he finds somebody leaving there, because it'd be really sad if House Castron was really wiped out. But I know what happened, so never mind. Let's just say we'll be disappointed. Anyway, as Stein anticipated, Grug's apparent left led to a breakdown in cohesion of the Orc invasion, as the horde fell apart due to infighting. The bosses of various tribes fought to become the new master of the leaderless Waaagh, even as they were bombarded by Imperial artillery. Having broken against the bastion of Sacred Mountain, the Orc horde was scattered by the assaults of the Cadians and their knight allies. Stein continued to drive a wedge between the Orc clans and tribes through the use of bombardment of Literum, Tempestus surgical strikes, dividing and displacing the Xenos because there were too many of them to estimate. In fact, we had billions of Orcs, so trying to kill them all is a bit of a tall ask. So why not just pit them against each other and make them do the job, our job for us. Unfortunately for Stein, he didn't count on Big Mac Mogrock taking over the Waaagh. While the various orc bosses were vying for leadership, Big Mac Mogrock and his bad moons were already enacting their plan. Mogrock was talented in creating big war machines which earned him a spot in the upper echelons of Grog's tribe. He was the power behind the throne for some time, having pioneered the custom force fields that protected the armada of warships. Remember when I said they only got 5% casualties? It was because of those custom force fields. He also created the Gorkonauts that engaged the Imperial Knights at Boiling River. That's why I know those walkers are Gorkonauts. And spawned the Morkonauts for his own personal horde. In fact, Mogrock had intentionally steered Waaagh towards Obistria in hopes that a Space Marine chapter defending their homeworld would be enough to slay him. Unfortunately, Grog obliterated the Obsidian Glaives and won, so Mogrock continued to linger behind the scenes. Fortunately, the Knights of Alaric Prime were able to lay Grog low, allowing Mogrock to rise in power. After Grog's downfall at Secret Mountain, Mogrock mustered his forces in his titanic rush ship, Tooth of Mog, and marshaled his horde of bagboys, looters, battle wagons, and walkers towards the largest concentration of humans he could find. Again, you can see the contrast here. Um, you have Grog and his Wrath of Gog, sorry, and you have Mogrock and his Tooth of Mog. So you basically have Mog and Gog here, two leaders with I guess, two contrasting philosophies. One is brutal but cunning, and the other is cunning but brutal. If you can't tell the difference, then you should never play orcs. Anyway, Morgoth led his mech horde towards the mass formations of human infantry making their way across the savannah towards a plateau of crenulated keeps in distance. With victory over the human army, Morgoth would launch his own Waaagh Morgoth and rally the other orc tribes to his banner. So we have something about Mok here, but I guess I don't need to go into detail about how Mok is cunning but brutal. Anyway, on the rolling auspice savanna far to the east of the Sacred Mountain, Stein's second-in-command, Sergeant Flies, was leading an army of thousands of tanks and millions of infantry to rendezvous with the remaining knights of House Brahmika. They intended to use House Brahmika's castle as their base of operations to scour the eastern side of the continent of Greenskins. On their way there, they encountered a massive armored wedge of orc vehicles, and Sergeant Flies ordered them to open fire, destroying the orc vehicles. Unfortunately, they didn't know that the vehicles were empty aside from expendable grots steering the vehicles, and some speed freaks will ignore Morgoth's order to charge at them, to give up their vehicles. But when Morgoth was like, if they want to go get themselves killed, no big loss. So he just let them do whatever they wanted. When the Acadians wrecked the vehicles, they formed a wall of scrap that obscured the human soldiers' view, only for the feet of Mog, which was the name of Mogrock's 100-strong dread mob, to bash their way through the makeshift wall and close in on the humans. Behind the mass killer cans and death dreads were the Meganobs. Or Mechanobs? Mechanobs, sorry, they are not Meganobs, they are Mechanobs. So Nobs who are mechs, or mechs who are Nobs. It's an orc thing, you know what I mean. Anyway, the Mechanops have armor that withstood the heavy Cadian firepower. Then Mogrock himself and lots of armored boys following behind. The Cadians held their ground as Mogrock anticipated, and despite less gunfire, most of the Orcs' armor protected them. His horde hit home and engaged the Imperial Guard in close quarters, slaughtering the humans. Yeah, that's kind of sad. A rush ship descended from above, dropping massive balls of scrap metal that smashed into the rear echelons of the Arcadian armies and killing dozens of men with each impact. But these were Morkonauts. And now they were right in the midst of the Arcadian ranks, discharging great blasts of lightning that fried the poor men. Battle tanks and transport carriers like the Chimeras and Taurox tried to hit them, but to little effect because they are Morkonauts. They have a 2-up armor save. And they are, toughness 12, I think? Worse, a gargoyle named Gungut slowly descended into the fight, blowing up more humans. The knights of House Brahmika strode out of the castle to join the fight, but even they were dwarfed by Gunguts because it's a gargoyle, I think. While they reaped a toll on the Greenskins, Mogrock's next move came into play. The speed freaks with their Dakar jets soared into the skies above the savannah, with each of them having a giant wrecking ball attached to their tail or something like that. Unfortunately, one of them caught the wreckage of a battle tank and crashed. The rest of the Dakar jets didn't bother with the Acadians and sent their wrecking balls right into the knights of House Brahmika, knocking them over. Ouch. The surviving knights managed to take out the flyboys with their heavy stabbers and battle cannons though, so yay? One of the knights' errand managed to vaporize Gungut's head with the thermal cannon, but the headless Gargan remained operable. Mogrok then activated his teleport blaster and disappeared to enact the next phase of his plan, which will be a video for another day. Point is, despite Grok Face Reaper's apparent death, the walk is not over. Waaagh! Grok has now been replaced by Waaagh Mogrok, which explains why the campaign's supplement is known as the Red Waaagh, and the humans are in for a big fight. Alaric Prime is in danger of falling, particularly with the cunning Mogrok now at the helm. Will he succeed, or will the Cadians and Night Houses of Alaric Prime deny him victory? We will find out. Stay tuned for the next video, which will come shortly. I don't know, no guarantees. But till then, until such a time,